There are some people they comparing me with Moses. I'm not Moses, I'm Hassan.
This man claims to having met God and Jesus face to face.
Yesu n'abamalayika wabalaba
with my eyes. N'amaaso gange naye lirye lyosiriraba.
I kid you not, this man is the only person who admits that he met God and Jesus physically, not spiritually, like what many people say.
Byemba mulira biri real. Bwe natuuka ku ntikko y'olusozi Kilimanjaro, nasanga 1,000 and 1,000 enkuyanja n'enkuyanja z'abamalayika. Ku ntikko y'olusozi Kilimanjaro kwe nasisinkana omwana wa Katonda.
Jesus, yes.
Kyeyasooka okundaga to confirm or to believe yandaga bibatu. Eby'emisumaali.
Well, he's an engineer by profession, known for his dedication. One fateful day, his life took an unexpected turn when he faced a devastating accident at his construction site. The accident left his body severely damaged, as doctors declared that his chances of survival were slim, and even if he did survive, he would be left physically challenged for the rest of his days.
Dr. yagenda okunkebera n'anteekako injala ya 100% total disability nga siriddamu kutambula.
He spent 7 years lying down alone, rotting, waiting to die as the wife had abandoned him. But then God visited him face to face, and Jesus told him to stand on his feet and walk after all these years. From there, he switched from Islam to Christianity, and God has been working with him, sending him to different places to teach and spread the gospel.
Eddoboozi Yesu lye yaŋŋamba, ye mu ddoboozi lye yaŋŋamba, ddayo otuukirize omulimu gwa Kitange gwe yakutuma.
But are there people who believe this man?
We believe that God is using him to send a message.
What did he do that made him so special to Jesus and God? Since most people talk to God through the Holy Spirit, prayers, and even reading the Bible, but not face to face like him. We visit this man and he tells us how he met Jesus and God.
Amannya gange nze Ali Hassan Matovu.
Ali Hassan Matovu was born in a big family with 13 siblings. Today, he's a married man with a wife and children, born and raised in an Islamic background, but today, he's a born-again Christian.
Mama wange alina story gye yannyumiza.
I was told that when I was 6 months old, they left me lying down as it was raining heavily, and I somehow stood up and walked. It was hard to believe that I started walking when I had 6 months. Not only that, but during his primary, he would have kind of revelations, but his classmates never believed in him.
Baali bantute mu kyalo.
One day, I was in the village and a voice told me to wake up and eat. Looking at the pillow, I found 4 slices of bread with 2 apples. And that person told me to eat quickly, for the father would have asked me where I got the food. I could often have some revelations and tell it to mom, who would slap me for saying nonsense. After graduating, the man got employed to some big construction companies since he holds a degree in civil engineering. He's one of the people that built the famous Nambole Stadium, which is the biggest in Uganda. And here too, he kept having visions that later unfolded in front of him and his workmates.
Nalaba trader in vision.
While at work, I had a vision of a lorry coming and crashing near one of the trenches we were building and taking people's lives in that vision. I warned some people about the trench, and the next Saturday, one big lorry was delivering cement, and when it reached the trench, an accident happened, just like what I had seen in the vision, and many people died that we had to stop working for at least a week. Whenever he saw something in a vision, it would later happen. And whenever you never listened to what he says, you had to suffer the consequences, like what happened to the friend of his.
Lumu waliwo mukwano gwange yali alunda obumyu.
My friend did rabbit farming, so I visited him and advised him to get petrol and mix it with some water, then pour it across the whole fence, for I could see red ants invading him around midnight. The man never took any action. Red ants attacked his farm, hence killing all his rabbits. And by 5 o'clock in the morning, he called me and said, "What you said was real. It really happened, and I've lost my rabbits." In 2007, he had a fatal accident while working on a field as he was a site manager in one of the construction company. It was so terrible that both legs had been broken and had no chances of walking on his feet again.
Empapula z'eddwaliro nkyazirina.
I still have medical documents here, as doctors told me that I have 100 chances of being disabled and never walking again. So the company gave me some compensation that I used during my medications. The wife abandoned me. I still needed more money for treatment, hence selling almost all my properties to save my life first. There is nothing I could do. My body couldn't even move. I couldn't wash myself. I was even rotting. It was terrible. The man's illness was so bad that not even walking was possible, but even healing did not seem possible, and he spent 7 years lying down helplessly. Sometimes he couldn't even manage to eat and would feed on water for months. He was almost going to die until when he saw God by his own eyes. I was in a mosque sleeping because they were the ones who were taking care of me after the wife had abandoned me. I saw a light coming through for 2 or 3 minutes. The light was too much that it was even penetrating through my bed cover, and I heard a voice calling me 3 times. The voice said, "I am God, the Creator. I'm going to heal you, that you will tell everyone in your country about my work." As afraid as he was, he had covered the whole face, and the voice told him to uncover himself and see what he was going to show him, and he did as he was told.
Eddoboozi bwe lyangamba tunula.
After opening my eyes, I saw dead bodies, and that voice told me that it's what is going to happen due to not obeying his commandments. My arm wasn't even functioning, and he then told me to write the message I would take to the whole world. I wrote a lot, and the voice ordered me to go to the church where I would heal from. He was still doubtful, saying that if you are really God, why not heal me from here, where I am? But a voice told him to do as it is said, and the next morning he bid farewell to the Imam, who asked why he was leaving. But the man was keen on going, so they gave him some money and paid a motorcycle to transport him.
Era baasumulula akagaali.
I headed to church. I could only move by a wheelchair, then entered the church when the morning service was almost winding up. But as I entered, that same voice commanded me to stand up. I struggled with it, but finally made it, hence telling the church all what happened to me and how I had spent 7 years disabled.
Up to now, akagaali ako nakalekayo ku Liberty Hospital Center.
That was not the only miracle he got, as the wife who had abandoned him later came back to him. God had only told him to serve him, but after being fit and walking on his feet, the man was hungry for money and sold some few properties that had remained so as to gain capital and opened a business in the neighboring country of Rwanda. But God found him there and told him to return to his mother country and tell people more about his work.
Uganda.
I returned, but on my way in Uganda, I was detained for I had no documents that showed what I do. They considered me to be doing some illegal stuff, then took me to prison. But the same voice came to me and said, "If you do my work, I will handle yours." Days later, he was released, got saved, baptized, and changed from Muslim to Christianity, and started going to different churches, preaching the gospel and telling people what God did to him in 2012.
In this journey, you are going to face so many challenges, but don't mind, trust your God.
Some people believe it, but others say he's a mad person. And since then, he has traveled to many countries, including Kenya, South Africa, and more, all saying what God did to him. There is one day I was on a mission, praying, and met thousands of angels praising and worshiping. And Jesus himself spoke to me with the same message. Go and spread the gospel. And Jesus appeared to me for 3 times.
Ye Mukama Katonda bwe yampita bwe yali ampita ampadde obuvunaanyizibwa obw'okukola. Era olwaleero abantu abasinga beewuunya okuba nti no yinginiya ayina degree nga nkola mu toilet. Sikola mu toilet nti nonsoloza ssente wabula nkola mu toilet nkilininga toilet. Kwegamba akabonero ak'okugonda ak'okukakana.
He says that God has even gave him some message to deliver to both Russia and US president. God also gave him a message that Africa will become great. It's the message about his home country Uganda and its president. He will keep traveling across the globe and spreading the gospel as long as he will be alive.
Erinnya lyange nze Namulondo Susan, mukyala Matovu Hassan.
I'm the wife to Hassan and we have 6 children together. Time came and I abandoned him for we were living under difficult conditions. I left when we had 4 children but then returned later. Asked for forgiveness. He forgave me and we got 2 more children. I love my husband for he's a kind man and I'll always support him. She's a singer in the church but never goes with the man on his journeys as he travels the world spreading the gospel, saying that her calling is only singing, whereas the man's calling is different to that, so she has to stay here and take care of everything while the husband is away.
Called Josephine Yakana. He was a born-again Christian.
Josephine met this man back in 2021 when he shared his testimony and they could see God using him to bless them.
Yes, what I know as a Christian, he's a messenger of God. He receives messages. So it's up to you to embrace that message, to do the will of God. Otherwise, the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. So if God gives you the knowledge, if God sends you the message and you reject it, it's up to you. But he will have done it. Like he sent Jonah to Nineveh to tell them that if you don't turn away from this, you're going to perish. It was up to them. When they repented, God did not God changed his mind. So it's up to us as the world to change, to receive him, because you will never know, you'll never see God move to you like a human being and come and say, you know what, do this and this. He will always send messengers. And I believe he's one of the messengers of God.
She believes that the man is doing his work and people should pay a close attention to what he says. For she adds that Hosea 4:6 reads, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." She urges people to use God's knowledge, listen what this man says, and avoid perishing.
He told us from the beginning that he gets a voice. Sometimes he sees a vision in the night and he gets instructions on what to do then. So since he joined us last, I think 2012, he's moved to several places. He moves on foot, doesn't use any means of transport. He's gone to Kenya, he's gone to Tanzania, he has gone around Uganda. He normally goes and comes back. But what touched us most was, I think, mid last year, he walked to South Africa. We were like, God, if it really comes back, we shall know that, you know. So after 6 months, he surfaced again. And, you know, we praised God. So we believe that God is using him to send a message.
And so, Hassan's story lives on, an enduring testament to the wonders of faith. It reminds us that no matter how dire our circumstances may seem, there is always a flicker of hope and a chance of redemption.
This message is not for Christians or it's not for Muslims, but for all. Ngekiri ekigambo bwe kyajja, ekijja kyetondebwa, God is the messenger for all students and nation.
Thank you for watching. I'm Elijah and this is Afrimax English. Remember to subscribe.